And joining me live now is General Deepak Kapoor, former Chief of the Army Staff. We decided here on 5 Live to bring on board 2 former Chiefs of the Indian Army to get their perspective on this particular issue. General Kapoor, pleasure, sir. First of all, thank you very much for being with me. We just had General Malik as well. Now we have you. My first question, the same. Your first impressions, General Kapoor, on the Rajouri encounter that we've just seen, in which 4 Indian Army soldiers have been killed in action, sir.
It's not a surprise that it has happened. You see, there are a couple of issues which firstly need to be highlighted. And the first and foremost of those is the recent decision of the Supreme Court of India agreeing with the government's decision of abrogation of Article 370. So that has sent a wave of disquiet across the line of control, and therefore that has also put in certain dynamics in play to rev up the situation in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The second aspect, which is also related, is the fact that currently is the winter season. All passes to the valley, that is Srinagar Valley, are closed. Invariably, it has happened, and I have been in Northern Command as an Army commander, I can say that with certainty, that once the winter starts, it is areas south of Pir Panjal which draw the attention of the infiltrating forces for coming in and creating a degree of disquiet. And you also need to view it with the fact that for the past year or two, there hasn't been much of an activity in the Poonch-Rajouri sector. So there was, I'm sure they are feeling,
even though there have been 3 encounters this year.
Issue, and that is how you first had an encounter in the month of April, May, and this is now a follow-up of that, infiltrating of the terrorists, and then trying to create a certain amount of situation where the security forces are targeted. And this, I'm sorry about the deaths of about 4 of our men and injury to 3 others. But this is the way, a pattern which is going to be followed through, especially in these winter months when the passes up north are closed.
What is it, after the abrogation of Article 370, General Kapoor, the overall levels of terrorist violence in Jammu and Kashmir have actually come down quantifiably, visibly, as per the data in front of us. But Rajouri, Poonch continues to be restive. Yesterday's encounter was actually the 3rd that we've seen in which there have been, multiple army casualties just this year. May, then November, and now this particular one. What is it about the terrain there that makes it so conducive for infiltrations and, terrorist attacks and encounters, sir?
2 things. First and foremost, like I said, that winter months are a normal playground for the terrorist and infiltrating forces south in the areas south of Pir Panjal. Secondly, there are a large number of hill features, not of very great heights, and a tremendous amount of jungle cover which is available in the areas of Poonch-Rajouri sector, south of Pir Panjal, thus enabling terrorists to find suitable hiding places. Incidentally, these areas also happen to be on the lower slopes of the Pir Panjal ranges, so normal civilians vacate their dhokes and come further down, thus enabling the terrorists to occupy some of those dhokes and places where they can hide and take shelter. Also, they take advantage of the inclement weather which is currently existing in this area to come and infiltrate in and cause a certain amount of turbulence in the entire sector.
General, I want to draw your attention to a very troubling aspect of this attack, which hasn't been, confirmed officially yet by the army. But the reason I ask is because we've actually seen it happen before. 10 years ago in the Mendhar sector, when there had been a similar ambush on our troops. There are reports, there are some journalists, there are some media reports which suggest that some of the bodies of the Jawans who were killed in action in this encounter may have been mutilated. 1 or maybe 2 of them may have been beheaded as well. The heads are said to be missing. I want to clarify once again that we don't have an official confirmation of this. from the Indian army, so we don't want to say that this has in fact happened. But if something like this has happened, and it has happened before, General Kapoor, how would the response actually change, and would it change, sir?
You see, the reaction cannot change. We, the Indian Army and the security forces are there to make sure that all terrorists and all kinds of terrorism in these areas is eliminated. As to what the terrorists do with our men, I think that is heinous and not an acceptable form. But if that has been done, I'm sure the security forces will take adequate measures to ensure that all these people who indulge in such activities are taken care of in their own fashion.
What would you say about the possibility of redeployment gaps, General Kapoor? Because there is reason to believe that there may have been a slight thinning out of troops from the Rajouri, Poonch, Jammu area in order to bolster defenses starting around 2020, 2021 during the Ladakh standoff. Would that be an opportunity area for Pakistan, to attack in this area?
I have not only led the army, I was also the Northern Army commander, so I can say that with certainty that there would be no such gaps left, especially knowing that this area specifically gets absolutely total attention during the winter months when it's not possible to come through the northern areas because of the passes being closed. So this possibility of leaving gaps, I'm afraid I do not go along with that theory. And I have no doubt that all the gaps and all the requirement of troops which is there to ensure sanctity of the line of control are fully being maintained. But the possibility that the weather as well as the folds of the terrain may have been used by these people in conjunction with certain amount of assistance from some, and I say some locals, to infiltrate in, take shelter, and thereafter cause all the terror and mayhem in the area. That is very much possible. But I don't think the security forces will leave gaps just because there has been deployments in some other sectors within J&K or in Ladakh.
Final question, General Kapoor, then, is, in your view, I mean, there are many different circumstances to understand. There are elections in Pakistan, there are elections coming up in India, there's the standoff with China in the northern areas. How should India respond to an encounter of this kind? Do you think a Sarp Vinash 2.0, and I asked this question to General Malik as well, a proactive kind of large-scale operation, do you think that is the order of the day now?
I do not think we should get into this aspect very much for the simple reason that we've had insurgency starting in J&K from 1989. And from then till now, it's a period of almost 24 years. The troops, as well as the security forces, are very well trained and they all know what exactly has to be done. I don't think any new techniques have to be tried as far as technology is concerned. Whatever is coming to the services and whatever is being used by the security forces is the best that the country can provide within those means and constraints. I have no doubt that the forces are using those very means to ensure that infiltration is checked, and when terrorists have come in, taking advantage of the weather and the folds of the terrain, they would automatically be looked after or taken care of in the manner that people have done it in the past. Please don't forget that the security forces have also had a tremendous amount of experience during the last as much as 34 odd years to deal with these situations, and this is not something new for them.
General Kapoor, thank you very much for your time and your wisdom on this developing story. We appreciate your insights into an encounter and an incident that still isn't, I have to remind all of our viewers, over just yet, and we will continue to report it. But thank you very much. Very valuable to hear from an ex-chief of the Army Staff, two that you've heard from on the show so far. But remember, I'd like to remind all of our viewers once again that we will not be reporting any images live from the encounter site. We are fully aware, as India Today has a lot of experience in reporting on terror encounters and security conflicts of this kind, that this kind of thing could actually help terrorists and their handlers across the line of control. So rest assured, other channels may do it, but India Today takes that responsibility very seriously.